there. Welcome to the week 4 vocabulary, where we're going to focus on the terminology that's involved so that you'll be able to better understand the concepts, but also to do better on the assessment. If you want a copy of this document, I will link it below in the description. That way you can download it and follow right along. Um, If this is the first time you are seeing my face, please make sure it is not the last by clicking that like and subscribe button. My name is Dr. Marissa May. I'm on a mission to help students feel confident in their math classes. And so this resource is just one of those tools that I use along with the videos so that you do feel confident to put your best effort forward and finish your math class with success. So let's jump right in. I'll be just kind of filling in the blanks here as we go along, but really focus on the terminology here. So, scarcity occurs when there are not enough resources. These resources can take on many forms, but the four that we see happen the most in business are labor, capital, land, and enterprise. So each of these can be limited, can come up in scarcity, meaning we don't have enough of it. And so we have to make decisions based on the priorities of our business. But these are the ones we find the four most common. So capital, is the resources that for the productions of goods and services. Basically, this is your cash, right? This is the funds you have available, maybe accounts receivable, that you can use to then produce your goods and services. So that is your capital. Number 4 here, your human effort, that's your labor. Those are the people that work with and for you, and they are involved in launching, designing, and running a business. Now, folks, I said that wrong. That is enterprise. Sorry. So these are the activities that we do to launch, design, and run a business. It is the personnel, number 5, that is our labor. Labor is all the personnel, talent, and human resources. It is by far the largest expense that a business incurs. A lot of times, this is why businesses wait so long before bringing on employees because it is a huge expenditure. And so they want to do that wisely. They also want to take care of the people that do work for them. So doing that, being very aware, I think is a good use of our time. And then land refers to not just physical dirt, right? But it's the buildings, it's the equipment involved in a business. Um, it could be vehicles. And so those are the 4 key areas that we can see resources can be limited at some point in time. Okay. When resources are available, it is best to be proactive. So this is where you want to go after some of your new designs, right? You want to try to think about where the business is going, not necessarily to be reactive where something is dictating your movements with the business. But when resources are limited, it is best to prioritize your needs. So we want to decide what is our most important need and how do we allocate resources? How do we put our capital towards that? Maybe that's our cash. How do we put our labor towards our best foot forward in the business? When resources are limited, we have to decide what's the most important thing and we have to do that first. We're going to switch our focus a little bit to making business decisions. Number 8 here, business decisions should be based on logic because it processes facts. So when we make a business decision, we talk about this a little bit in the discussion is that we don't want to base it solely on intuition. We do want to look at it from a data point of view. But we almost want to have a little bit of both, right? We want to have done our research, we want to have looked at all of the options, and we want to look at what is our best option, and then we combine that with our intuition as well. But to just go on intuition, a lot of times it we are just going on feelings, and feelings can be deceiving. So we want to balance that with some logic and some facts. Logic can be used for personal and professional decisions because it requires that observations are made. Data is analyzed and feedback is evaluated. So, when we use logic to make decisions, we've researched, we've looked at all of the feedback that was given. I like to tell the story about my mother in law, and my mother in law, she can get really intense when she's getting ready to buy a car. I've seen her do it several times now. She reads Consumer Report. She looks at the reviews for the particular type of vehicle she wants to buy. She wants to look at all of the feedback that comes from the different manufacturers. And she reads the details about their engines. I mean, she does her job very well. So when she's ready to make a purchase, I promise you, you're not going to get the best of her on this. She knows that car through and through by the time she's ready to make that decision. And it has benefited her because she buys a car and it lasts for a really, really long time. Just in case you're wondering, she's currently driving a Toyota Sienna. But she has done her homework. So, another term for logic and reasoning is critical thinking. Critical thinking. So, a lot of times we talk about this, especially with young learners, younger students. Um, we talk about critical thinking skills, and that's really where you take your data, you analyze it, you gather all this information about it, and then you to make a good decision, right? We just call it critical thinking in one arena, but we call it logic and reasoning in another area. Okay, let's talk about a few types of reasoning. And I think these are beneficial for us because we see these words used all the time, but we don't really know how to break them down. So let's look first at deductive reasoning. This says if the premise is true, then the conclusion is true. Okay, and then inductive reasoning uses specific information to make broad generalizations. So inductive is the one we have to be really careful of because just because I'm a woman and I'm wearing a pink shirt does not mean that all women wear pink shirts, right? Or it doesn't mean that everyone who wears a pink shirt is a woman. Those are taking a specific instance, me wearing a pink shirt, and then broadcasting it over an entire group. That is dangerous because we a lot of times it's not accurate, right? Deductive takes the group and then applies it down to a single um, individual or organism. So if I might say something like, all dogs have a tail. At some point in their lifespan, they have a tail. They're a mammal. Almost all mammals have a tail. But okay, so let's say all dogs have a tail at some point in their lifespan. So if Ginny is a dog, then Ginny has a tail, right? Did you see how I took a big global idea and I then pared it down to a single instance or organism? Okay, deductive, that's deductive, going from big to applying to small. Inductive says taking what applies to small and then saying everybody's included in that. And that's a big difference there. And then conditional reasoning uses if then statements. Okay. All right. Now let's finish up by looking at some vocabulary with business articles. So, fake news is a very common. idea, fake news has existed since the 13th century, way back then, right? As a deliberate attempt to disseminate or distribute hoaxes, right? Fake news has existed for a really long time. The whole purpose of fake news is to try to put out ideas that are not true. So, in order to evaluate a business article to determine its credibility, we need to consider three things. One, the author. Number two, the source. And number three, the audience it was written for. And if we consider those three, we stand a good chance to really have a good analysis on whether we can apply the information being distributed as truth or not. So I hope that helps with the week 4 vocabulary. We've really got some good information here that I hope is helping to kind of add to this collection of knowledge so that you have a working sense of how to determine when something is being presented that is accurate or not. And hopefully, then it's contributing to you having the strategies to make good decisions, both professionally and personally. And if there's any questions or comments or anything I can help with, please let me know in the comment below. I would love the opportunity to continue the discussion, or if you want to see some videos on something else, I'd love to do that as well. Bye for now.